Hello and welcome to What Are You Saying? #ways, where we talk about topics in the news as it affects us all. I am Uti Elu and I am joined by the one and only Manny Money. How are you, Manny?
I'm fine, Uti. How are you?
You look like you've had a day.
I had a day, yes. I have had a day.
The joys of motherhood, right?
Oh my God, yes, the joys of motherhood. So you finish with work, you come home and you make something else waiting for you. And
it just never stops.
Yeah.
How's your week been though in general? Thank God it's Friday.
Yeah, thank God it's Friday. I love Fridays. Everybody that knows me knows that I love Fridays because it's just the time to just cool off so that you don't lose it. So
Friday for me is the best part of the weekend. I feel like once you hit Saturday morning, the weekend is over.
well, maybe not Saturday morning, maybe Sunday morning.
No, I don't wait till Sunday. I feel like once you wake up, so this is when I truly feel like it's the weekend. I think once you get into Saturday, it just flies by.
Yeah.
Before you know it, you're
Except you're not doing anything, like you're in bed. So sometimes I just stay in bed throughout Saturday.
Those are my favorite Saturdays.
Yes, exactly.
I get stressed when I have plans for the weekend. I like to go into this time of the week not knowing what I'm doing tomorrow. That's how I like the plans to evolve. But when I know that, I have an event or I have to do something, it's just very stressful. It takes the joy out of my Friday night.
I intentionally plan to stay in bed on Saturdays sometimes.
It's a good habit to have. But
yes.
So it's just you and me today.
It's just
interesting.
us.
I haven't been on a two-lady panel for
I have
quite a while.
It's always with Uwa on the other side. Yes.
Uwa has decided to take a break this week.
Much needed break.
And run off and leave us to our own lonesome selves. But anyway, I'm sure we'll have a fantastic show.
Yes.
And I'm really looking forward to the topic that we're talking about today. So our quote for today says, dynamic pricing, charging more when goods and services are in high demand and short supply, and less when the opposite is true, isn't new. So gasoline retailers, hoteliers, and airlines have been deploying the technique for years, and that's by Adam Leshinsky. So this is the law of supply and demand, really, isn't it?
Yes.
When supply is low, demand is high, prices go up, and vice versa. And I think there isn't a more apt quote for what is happening in the world today.
Yeah.
It is insane. It really, I don't even know how to put it. When you think about all the key factors, I was telling someone today that I think it had to come to a head. You know, in Nigeria sometimes we live ostrich style. We put our head in the sand.
And act like we don't know what's going on.
Exactly. But this current situation, rich or poor,
everybody's hearing it.
You. Like I when I saw the tweet by Tony Elumelu, I said, "Hey, water don't pass."
Yes.
Now everybody knows what it feels like.
Yeah,
to some
the rich
extent,
also cry.
yeah, to some degree, everybody's touched by the fact that the gusto with which we have abandoned our power sector has come back to bite
us.
each and every one of us. So today it's going to be an interesting conversation. I'm seeing how we can talk about the situation that businesses find themselves in and how they right the ship really around what's going on. But looking forward to that. So if there's one thing we can all agree on in Nigeria and the world, in fact, post-COVID-19 pandemic, it's that things cost more. It seems that prices keep going up and the economy keeps declining in this part of the world, in fact, everywhere. In the midst of this chaos, business owners and service providers have had to increase their prices to keep their businesses afloat and for sustainability. So later in the show, Jeffrey Williams-Edom is here to discuss safe strategies to price increment amidst inflation. But first, let's take a break to see what we found in the news. We'll be right back. You're still watching Ways. So, the transatlantic slave trade is often studied and discussed at the macro level. It was a phenomenon characterized by unprecedented mass human trafficking, degrading economic transactions, and unspeakable human rights violations. But examining the transatlantic slave trade at the micro level reveals its true brutality. Behind the facts and figures are millions of human stories, the stories of those who were ripped from their homelands and families, the stories of those who fought against their oppressors, the stories of those who triumphed against all odds to win their freedom. Those stories continue today as people across the globe keep struggling together against the transatlantic slave trade's most enduring legacy, which is racism. Every year on the 25th of March, the International Day of Remembrance of the Victims of Slavery and the Transatlantic Slave Trade offers the opportunity to honor and remember those who suffered and died at the hands of the brutal slavery system. The International Day also aims to raise awareness about the dangers of racism and prejudice today. You know, this one, when I saw it, I thought to myself, I remember the first time, you know, growing up, we used to always say Kunta Kinte, Kunta Kinte. I remember the first time I watched Roots, and I thought to myself, if I see a white person right now, I'm liable to do something. But I mean, to be alive in that time and to really understand, do you get what I mean? I remember going to the museum in Badagry and, you know, just seeing all the paraphernalia there. You can't wrap your mind around what that kind of experience was, and I mean, to see it in the movies and to get some idea of what people lived through in that time. And it's so powerful that it's such a travesty that keeps on living, because now we're dealing with it in different ways. Some places it's more pronounced, like the United States. In some countries it's not as pronounced, it's more systemic. So, but to confront and see that, you know, even so long after this, racism is still alive and well, is just such a sad, sad reality. So, you know, to all the people who lost their lives so long ago, may their souls rest in peace. To those dealing with racism today, its strength, it's shining the light on the darkness and continue to educate people, hopefully, that this is something that at some point, I hope one day, you know, the hold will break and people will truly see human beings for what they're for. But let's move on to what you found in the news. So what do you have for us?
Okay, so I saw a story that caught my attention in the Punch newspaper. It says 3 siblings disappear from Abuja school, teachers, proprietor detained. So it said there is panic amongst residents of Kabusa community in the Federal Capital Territory over the disappearance of 3 siblings. The children, Marvelous, Alex, Rehoboth, Sunday, were said to have gone missing from their school, Star Child Academy, on Tuesday. According to residents, their mother had gone to pick them up from their school located around the Ekwa 1 area of Kubasa, but they were nowhere to be found. So efforts made by their mother, staff of the school, and residents to locate them were said to have been abortive. The incident sparked a protest from women in the community, and on Wednesday, women in the community, both young and old, protested at the school and at the police station. So speaking to our correspondents, a family friend said residents checked every nook and cranny of Kabusa from the day of the incident till Wednesday, adding that the children were not found. So the family, this is the sad part of it, the family recently lost one of their children, and now all of the surviving children are nowhere to be found. The missing children are 2 females and 1 male. The first is 8, the second 6, and the last is 2 years old. So the FCT police spokesperson, DSP Josephine, confirmed the incidents, and she said all the teachers in the school, alongside the proprietor, had been arrested over the matter.
He should be detained. I mean, that's
Yeah,
gross
I think
incompetence,
this
if
is
nothing
really,
else.
really sad. With everything that is going on in the country now, you know, there's a lot of ritual kidnapping now.
Absolutely.
So, and this family lost a child recently, and now they're losing 3 other children.
I can't even imagine what the mother must
I
be
don't
going
I
through.
don't want to even imagine what their parents are going through right now. But I think we need to look into this whole thing going on in schools, because children have started, you know, getting missing or, you know, disappearing from schools.
I mean, it's really about, educating your children. I know at one point it was strangers, but now even realizing that the
Thank
danger
you.
can be people that
Yes.
are familiar to you. So
Yes.
it's just really educating your children about, what it takes to stay safe. But for 3 children to go missing all at once, then the teachers in the school have a lot to answer for.
They have a lot, the proprietor, everybody.
Really do. We pray that they're found safely and returned to their
Amen.
families. So my headline reads: Reps reject dirty fuel probe report. Panel exonerates NNPC and others. Now, you remember back, was it last month, where we had the fuel shortages because we had the contaminated fuel that came into the country. And I'm never one to say I want to cry foul or anything, but key things stood out in this story. So this story is talking about the House of Reps have dismissed the report that its committee on the petroleum resources downstream investigated the importation of the adulterated PMS, which is petrol, which led to disruption in the supply chain. Now, the committee have come out with their findings, and what it shocked me the most in their findings was they were unable to hold anyone responsible for the issue. Their recommendations ranged from the fact that they would like the Minister of Petroleum Resources to expedite action for the completion of rehabilitation of 3 refineries. What has that got to do with adulterated imported fuel? They had said that tracking devices should be placed in the trucks so that the trucks can be tracked to avoid smuggling. Again, what has that got to do with the importation? It then talks about the SON. The government shall position the SON to implement its mandate of reviewing all imported petroleum products, and the SOM is to resume routine quality checks. So that means that the checks were not done and nobody is being held responsible at the SON. Nobody essentially from the work they have done so far has been held responsible. They went so far as to quote parts of the Constitution that state that the country is to have, the NNPC is to ensure that we have at least 90 days worth of reserve and build depots to ensure that we can. So the report was just wishy-washy in terms of, look, there was a problem, there was a failure. What is the process for inspecting the products that come into the country? Who is responsible? If it wasn't done, when you say resume, when did it stop? To what and whose permission did it stop? So for me, there were just so many flaws in this. And of course, I'm very glad that the House has sent them back and said, you've done a good job, but thank you for all these things that you've said. But this is not what we asked you to do. This is not the job that we sent you to do. So please go back and come back to us and tell us what exactly, who's responsible and what happened. So we look forward to seeing a more robust report and seeing what the outcomes were. It would be great to see some sort of compensation being offered, because so many people's cars were damaged. I mean, really, it just doesn't even bear thinking about. So it would be great for us to eventually hear that they're able to offer some respite or restitution to the people whose cars and vehicles.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect them. If you no talk, then go beat you. Now 2,500 and they pay.
This medal has been directed to empower 1,000 persons with disabilities in each state in the next 12 months.
When I start hearing the shoot of gun.
Whatever I've done.
Every public policy has winners and losers, and some will not be very happy with you, while others, usually the silent majority, will be quite happy.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
Crossroads of the economy, how organizations ensure that short-term price increases are fair and in line with customer expectations? How can companies prepare to deal with the long-term consequences of inflationary markets? What safe strategies do you think are sustainable for price increment amidst inflation? Please let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 0818-038-4663 or tweet at us at WasteShowAfrica1 with the hashtag WasteShow. So Manny, I'll come to you. How is inflation affecting your business? So you're an entrepreneur, so you're the best person to start with.
Okay, so inflation is basically the rate of increase in prices of goods and services, and generally the cost of living, you know. So increase in the rate of goods and services. So what we do is we render services to our clients. We're not selling products, so it's just services. So it's affected me in a ripple effect kind of way. So prices are increasing. The price of transportation is increasing for myself, it's increasing for my staff. You know, the amount of money we used to spend buying basic things around the office, like even the ink, paper, you know, just different things. Because this is the time of the year where we actually renew our retainers. So when you're calling it, everything, the cost of living for them has increased, but they're still on the same salary paycheck or package. So what happens is that it has to also reflect in their paycheck. So it's hitting everybody. Yeah. Like,
so I mean, we're I hate to say it, I often say that we're getting poorer. So what a millionaire would have bought you a few years ago is certainly not what, in fact, not even a few years ago, what it would have bought you at the end of last year is not what it will buy you right now.
You're even talking about last year. We're talking about February.
Exactly, true. I mean, when you talk about the kind of increase that we've had in diesel, that's exactly it, right? So we're seeing the key, the fact of the conversation we were having today around the power sector and the fact that, you know, in as much as you think it won't affect you, it has come home to roost. Nobody can avoid it now. Even if you thought, oh yes, I could buy a bigger generator, I could afford diesel, it is a huge pinch for everyone. And given that we're an economy that is so dependent on, you know, our MSME space is huge. even if the bigger companies and corporates and institutions can absorb these costs, for us, when you think about the smaller companies, how are they going to cope? The one-man businesses, all our e-commerce traders. I mean, it's a huge situation that we find ourselves in. But I'm glad that we have a guest today who's going to give us some insight into this topic. So, Jeffrey has over 18 years of sales and business management experience in 6 industries spanning consulting, professional services, retail, payment technology, financial services, health, and food. His work experience covers both local and international brands such as NCR in Atlanta. He joined InterSwitch in 2011. He is currently the Group Business Head, managing merchant acquiring business development across Africa, an expert in sales optimization, business and market development, focused on achieving exceptional results in a highly competitive business environment that demands continuous improvement and volume / profit focused results. An alumni of Lagos and Columbia Business Schools, a student of the London School of Economics, he is trained in the Million, Hyman and value selling methodology, and a safe, agile and EI practitioner. It's a wonderful, powerful bio. Thank you for joining us, Jeffrey. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. We should shorten that.
You should see mine. Mine is quite interesting. I have anthropologist in there. People go, oh, anthropologist, what's that? But it needs to be a talking piece. It needs to kick off the conversation. But we're excited to have you here. And you sound like you're perfectly poised to take us through this conversation. And I will start because for me, the focus is the MSMEs, right? The smaller businesses. But like we said, this is pinching everyone, right up to the corporates. We've seen banks and organizations have shortened their opening hours, all of those things that we've come to realize, because we know that in business, what are the key factors? You have to stay profitable. Either your revenue goes up or your cost goes down. Yeah. So at this point, how do we address those factors? So given that we've started talking about inflation, I'd like you to just sort of start us off and maybe shed some light on how the current situation is really affecting businesses today.
Well, I think we just asked one business owner, and she's pretty much said exactly what a lot of people are saying. So when you have cost of production go up, when you have your supply chain disrupted, when you have the cost of labor going up, when you have the condition to doing business not as straightforward and as acceptable as it should be, even the struggle to even use the limited resources that you have is also difficult. Everybody's facing that today. Fuel, road, raw material, in fact, labor. It's also becoming scarce because we know everybody's
brain drain
here and out. And that's why you find that definitely you would experience inflation. Now, if we look at 2015, we had about 9%. Fast forward 7 years, that is 15 point something percent. Just last year, it was about 16.9%. So it's fairly okay in January. So we're having some major increase in inflation in Nigeria. And who is suffering for that? Not just the business owners, it's the people who are going to pay for the services. But there are certain ways that people react to such inflation, and I think that's what we're going to talk about today.
So we'll take it from the business perspective. Manny, do you want to take a question, or should I go?
Well, I'll take you inside.
All right, so I think first let's look at how companies react when there's inflation. So what do? So the first thing they want to do is they want to increase price. That's the first thing they want to do. They want to make sure that the margins are manageable, and they want to, of course, reduce the cost of production, not just the price that they're increasing. And by doing that, they also impact the quality of the product that they do. But there are strategies in which people apply today. One of it would be how you diversify your product portfolio, and I'll talk a bit around that as to the question you've asked. Sometimes you find people also reposition their brand. So if your brand was a premium brand, you might want to reposition that. If your brand was a mass market appeal and you don't have the economic...
So when you say reposition your brand, what do you mean?
This is where you reapply your brand to certain markets. So let's say, for instance, your brand was a premium brand, and the cost of maintaining that premiumness is too high for you. You can reposition your brand to appeal to a certain type of market. And then lastly, people try to look at their price model. Am I applying the right pricing? Can my company adopt the right pricing based on the economics that comes from applying those pricing? And then decisions are made around if that would be the right thing to do. Now, if we look at the question that you've asked around sustaining production and sustaining the quality, it is very difficult to do that. Some companies would take the hit from managing the margins that come because it's not so bad. So let's say you had an average margin from a fashion business at 40%, which is average what the fashion business does today. You would find that because of the supply chain and the cost that comes with that, you would have maybe 15%. Okay. Now, then you look at 15% as a margin, then the economics starts to kick in. What kind of volumes do I need to sell at 15% the margin? Should I still apply this kind of packaging? Do I need this much staff?
Yeah.
Should I then consider online? Should I maintain these retail stores? So all of those economics begin to kick in when your margins begin to drop, if you want to sustain the quality that you are. Some strategy would require you reducing the quality so that you can continue to maintain status quo. But of course, you will lose some market share when it comes to those premium customer. And that's where the second strategy I mentioned about repositioning your brand. So what people would do is to reposition their brand so that they can then go after a certain type of customer.
But that repositioning, doesn't it sound like downgrading?
Well, I don't think so. Do we use toothpicks? Yes, we do. Are they fancy toothpicks? Yes, but in the end, doesn't serve the same purpose.
So I was going to say that in repositioning, then, are you talking about retaining the old segment and keeping the luxury product for them, and then perhaps looking at a more mass market type product in that sense, or a complete pivot from the luxury into a different segment?
Well, some people have a mix of both, really. That's where your portfolio mix comes in. Some people prefer where they're able to play. Now, when I mentioned having to look internally around how your company can support the economics of changing price, because there are certain decisions and certain impacts to your business. If you know that your cost is really high, and if you know that you can't sustain that cost and that type of brand positioning based on the quality or the type of products that you sell, and you still want to be in business, you would have to readjust. You would have to rebrand, you have to reposition. You have to look at what you can sustain from. But the real secret in all of this is not all of that. The real secret is, if I change my price, will my customers still see it as value, and would they still patronize my brand? And will competition also change? So you're looking at the capacity for the consumer to buy, or the willingness, the certainty that everyone is going to react the same way so that you're not out of the market, and the capacity of your organization or your company to maintain that type of price model. If those three things are not considered, you'll find that you will make decisions and that will kick you out. So advice is, do a bit of a survey around to understand what is acceptable. Just take a look around. Look at what competitions are doing. Some have the right kind of data and they're taking decisions probably faster than you are. Put these two data into use, reevaluate all the inputs that you have, and then take better informed decisions around that. But in the end, you need to keep your business going. So you will have to make some decisions anyway, but just make an informed one.
So I think it depends. So when you were talking, I remember seeing, I think it was a Twitter post or a meme, and the person said, oh, that FMCG companies, they don't have problems. The biscuit makers, they just take one or two out of the pack.
I will talk a bit around that. I'll talk a bit around that.
So you've sort of talked about how you look at what decisions to make and the kind of data and insights you need to make the decision. But Manny has spoken from a services perspective. So now if we take the products, the people who are producing actual things now, your cost of manufacturing has gone up. What would they be looking at? So this one of the things I just talked about, which is making the product smaller, which is we've come to see. I mean, I never thought I'd see a day when spaghetti would get cut in two to make a smaller pack, right? But that's where we are.
Really?
Today. Yeah, the spaghetti, it's now half that length.
No way.
Yes, it's a smaller pack.
But what they are doing is diversifying their portfolio. You see, consumers have a psychology to buying the full pack at 1,000 naira, and that's all you've ever sold. And everybody were used to that for many years. Prices have gone up. Not everybody is buying that 1,000 pack. What the economics of that is that your business is losing market share and the average income is reducing because of that type of product. Then you bring that to half the pack of carton and sell it for maybe $4.50. What happens is you just create another niche of customers that are like, okay, $4.50 is not so bad. I mean, I can afford $4.50. Sure. And then you bring that down to maybe a unit pack of 4. And then an average you and I can buy that. And some people say, why not? We have kids. They will not finish this pack. Why not go further down and do 2 pieces in a pack? When I sell those at different prices, you will not see the price increase.
Yeah, I see that.
The reason is because I've given you multiple variances for you to pick from, and that kind of price strategy is often considered as fair. There is a psychology around that, and that psychology around that is that customers prefer reduction in price than increase in price. But if you look at the economics of it, they are pretty much the same. Yeah. But people just have more intuition towards a reduction. Yeah. And what is the economics in that is the more I reduce price, the lower the quality, the production cost, the cost of putting that pack together and all of that. The higher I put, so it's the same. So
it's just a different strategy to which way do you want to, what side do you want to come out for it on the side of your customers.
And when you do find brands that outrightly tell you we've increased price, and there's nothing they can do about it.
We're going to come to that. But let me just hold you there. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back.
For upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on PlusTvAfrica.
Practice makes
Thank you for watching Ways. So if you've just tuned in, we're having an amazing chat with Jeffrey Williams Edem on safe strategies to price increment amidst inflation. We'll still love to hear what you have to say. So remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 0818-038-4663. Tweet at us at WaysShowAfrica1 with the hashtag WaysShow. So before we went on the break, you were just about to talk about price increment. So everything we've talked about so far is the insights, the data. But we realized that in all of this, we still get to a point where a business has to take the decision to increase prices. So can you help us understand how a business identifies that point where they need to do that? What triggers and what can they be looking out for to let them know they've hit that point?
It's a good question. So let's simplify it to 2 or 3. So the first is you have a cash flow. Cash flow means I have money to run my business. I need to buy ink, I can afford it. I need to pay staff, I can afford it. Anything that you need money for, you can afford it. Whether as a loan or any means or from the business that generates the cash flow on a day-to-day basis. The moment you find that you can't afford to run your business properly and efficiently using the cash that is generated, it is time to look at price change. That's 1. 2, when you begin to see that the average profit of your business is dropping to a critical point. Now, why do you need profit? Because you needed to expand. You needed to take strategic decisions. You needed to invest in infrastructure, to hire the right kind of skill set. If you don't have profit, which is outside replacing what has been dispensed, then there is nothing that's going to happen as growth in your company. If I buy a bag of pure water to sell, and I bought it for 100 naira, and I make 100 naira, I am not growing a business, because I'll take that 100 naira. So how do I feed? How do I go home? How do I get to the shop to buy this stuff? That's why profit is very important. So if those two are impacted, it is time for you to increase price. Also, you also find that most people always think about price as going up, but it can also come down.
Absolutely.
So you would have to implement strategy to make your product affordable to people. Increasing price does not make it affordable, because the people trying to buy may not have their own economic of scale going up as well, like the economics that, like what I earn and all of that.
We're getting poorer with the inflation, but then the prices are going up.
Absolutely. So that's why I mentioned where you have to provide the options that people can then afford to pay. So intelligent companies look at what people are trying to solve, because when there is no money and there's scarcity, what you're trying to buy becomes a need. It's a necessity. Luxury begins to go down, necessities begin to go up. If you were serving me food in a very nice fancy pack, I'm not coming to buy food from you because of the fancy pack when I have less money. I just want to feed. So if you could still give me that portion of food without the pack, without all the fancy places, but I still get to eat, and I see another day, that is the bare necessity.
Absolutely.
That's a win.
So,
we've talked about the product industry. So how about my industry, the service industry? How do we cut down?
For what they don't need. So service is very bogus, because you find that people just take the whole pack. It's unlike a unit item where you can pick what you need. Services is very bundle based in its nature. That's why you can price what you price. If you're offering an HR service, you put recruitment, you put everything. Because you want to charge more. But because there is abundance, people don't usually bother so much about that. They feel that, okay, what I have could be improved on with what you're bringing. But when there's scarcity, what you hear is, what I have is sufficient, but this one I don't have, and that's the one I want you to price differently for. Same way when we want to buy cars, or we want to do anything else when we don't have all the cash that we need. So for service company, I would advise 3 things. So the first thing is, you need to reevaluate the market that you're serving, because now when inflation comes, they are also impacted. So what is now relevant to the market? Not what you are trying to sell, is what is relevant to the market. Do I need to reconfigure my product offering so that when I price, it is what is relevant to the market? There's a Chinese there's a Chinese proverb that says that if it's important enough, you will make time for it, right? And what that means is, no matter how cash-strapped a business is, when that expense is important enough,
they will pay for it.
There's something they call that, there's a trade-off, there's an economics word for that. Opportunity forgone or something like that. Like I can remember way back in school.
Opportunity cost.
Yeah, something like that, absolutely. So there will be something that people would forgo just to pay you for your service. But it then needs to be what is needed for that. So you're
going to sort of come in and say, think businesses are experiencing. So I find that in this current situation, consumers are actually understanding of the situation, and we see that people are, if you come today and say, oh, the cost of power is going up, we're all okay with that. Now, Manny had mentioned solar, so impacted by inflation.
Today, so we'll use the first one, which is penetrating pricing. That's a type of strategy for pricing, where you would look at what's going on, and because you've seen an opportunity, you are pricing right as you take new things into the market because of certain conditions. So the solar business, as an example, has seen that people need alternative power. They can buy this, fuel is increasing. They would think that, should I increase and make it expensive so people can come for us? No. What they would say is, people need an alternative to generator and to the estate bills that are huge. And if we price in an appropriate pricing, we can penetrate the market of those kind of needs, and people can absorb this product. So just because there's an opportunity doesn't mean that price needs to go up. Now, again, if price goes up, what happens is that there will be a limited set of people that can afford it.
Yeah.
And again, when I go back to the first comment I made to say you also need to look at the price economics to your organization. What that means is if I price at this, what quantity can we sell? What capacity can we churn out? Do we have the right income to scale or be structured as an organization to continue to deliver that service? That's what I meant by that before. So they would then need to consider all of that if they want to go in there. A lot of opportunities are coming out. That's why when I hear some very interesting and intelligent services, I'm like, Nigerians are really smart.
Absolutely.
We are so industrious, we're so innovative, we're so resourceful. In the midst of all the challenges, new opportunities are finding their ways, both from a tech point of view, even from a premium point of view. I always tell people, energy does not disappear. It changes from one form to another. See, that basic physics principle works in economics as well. Just because you and I don't have money does not mean that that money has not gone to someone else.
Absolutely.
There's always a market
the money.
for your product.
So what that means is a few others have lost their money to someone else.
People who have gained it.
So intelligent companies are saying, wait, hold on.
Where's the money going?
Thank you. So I'm into premium branding. I'm into premium customers. If these people are losing money to a certain type of company, can I create the right kind of product to service those people that money is going to?
So we start to look at the segmentation of your business and what the
even the industry as well.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, we've said so much in such a short amount of time, but I think we've also come at it from a very I don't want to say high level because then it means like we've not broken it down, but I think to the one-man entrepreneur, the one-man business, I sell e-commerce on Instagram or whatever. Can we break this down into 5-6 tips and say you need to look at this because everybody's struggling right now, from the bakery down the street, the issue with wheat and those costs. I remember finding how is it possible, but that's a conversation for a different show. But for the smaller businesses, when we talk about data, when we talk about insights, you think big business, you think the people who are able to look at these things. So manage their business.
So let's take 2 examples of those type of business so that